while everybody's taking their seats, and we'll do the preliminary stuff. So, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Planning Board of the Township of Franklin has been provided. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So prior to the start of the meeting, the oath of office was administered to the folks who are here: Robert Thomas, Robert LaCourte, myself, Michael Orsini, and Ted Chase. And so with that, Christine, if you could do the roll call.
Councilman Embarrasson asked to be excused. Theodore Chase? Here. Robert LaCourte?
Here.
Mark Dancy?
Here.
Jennifer Ragnow?
Here.
Everybody turn your computer, hold on. Mahir Rafiq?
Here.
Charles Brown?
Here.
Robert Thomas?
Here.
Chairman Orsini?
Here. While I was not able to get Mikey Sherrill here, like council did, we do have Pete, probably the biggest dignitary we have.
Thanks.
No problem. So we do have to go through a brief reorganization. So the first would be the nomination and selection of chairperson. So to do that, have a call for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Michael Orsini to be the Planning Board Chairman.
Do we have any other nominations on the floor?
I second the nomination.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any other nominations on the floor? Seeing none, I move that nominations be closed. All in favor of that?
Aye. Aye.
And then can we call the vote for my nomination?
Sure. Theodore Chase?
Yes.
Robert LaCourte?
Yes.
Mark Dancy?
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow?
Yes.
Mahir Rafiq?
Yes.
Charles Brown?
Yes.
Robert Thomas?
Yes.
Do you get to vote for yourself or no? Oh, yes?
Sure,
Okay.
yes.
Chairman Orsini?
Yes. So now nomination and selection of vice chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Charles Brown for vice chair.
I'll second.
Who's second, I'm sorry? Bob? Okay.
Are there any other nominations on the floor? If not, I move nominations be closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Theodore Chase?
Yes.
Robert LaCourte?
Yes.
Mark Dancy?
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow?
Yes.
Mahir Rafiq?
Yes.
Charles Brown?
Yes.
Robert Thomas?
Yes.
Chairman Orsini?
Yes. So that's chairperson and vice chairperson. Now we go to board attorney interviews. We have two applicants, Clark and Vignola, our current counsel, and Eric Bernstein. Is Eric Bernstein here tonight? Anybody representing their office here tonight to be interviewed? If they are not, there's only one firm here to be interviewed, which is Clark and Vignola, and represented by Peter Vignola to my left. And I will just ask Peter to give a very brief summation of his qualifications for.
I've been practicing law since 1998, work with my partner Jim Clarkin in a firm that focuses primarily on municipal law and land use. I'm currently the borough attorney in Milltown, the planning board attorney in Monroe, planning board attorney in Plainfield, the zoning board attorney in Plainfield, the zoning board attorney in Monroe, and the planning board attorney in Franklin. Been the planning board attorney here for about 13 years.
Thank you, Peter. I would wish to nominate the firm of Clark and Vignola for our council for 2026.
Second.
Christine, if you call the roll.
Theodore Chase?
Yes, for Clacken and Vignola.
Robert LaCourte,
Yes.
Mark Dancy,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Mahir Rafik,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Robert Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Do you need to be, oh, wait, it's Mark. Mark, do you need, there's a witness oath? or-
So I need to swear in both Mr. Healy and Mr. Mazzy, so that if they provide testimony to the board over the course of this year, it is sworn testimony. So starting with Mr. Healy, if you could raise your right hand, do you swear that any testimony you provide during calendar year 2026 will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Super. If you could raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you provide during calendar year 2026 will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Super. Thanks.
Okay, so I think, well, not quite, so I know this is a discussion item, but let's just get it out of the way now because it fits better. Appointment of the minor subcommittee. That has been myself, I think Maher, and Bob Thomas. Bob Thomas? Yeah. I'm, more than willing to cede my spot. We need 3 people. I'd like to rotate it, gives people a little experience. Is it that earth-shaking? Most definitely not. So, I have no problem, like, if you guys want to keep doing it, or if somebody else would like a crack at it. If nobody else wants a crack at it, we'll rock with the 3 we have. Okay. Bob Maher, I know you've got extra responsibilities these days, Maher, so, do you still want to do
Yeah,
it?
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bob?
I would put myself in the same position as yourself. I think it's good if other people have an opportunity to take advantage of it. It's good background for the future. I'll be happy to do it if no one else wants to.
Well put. Okay, since nobody is jumping forward, or it's kind of like the volunteers where the line steps back and the people who forget to step back are nominated, I guess that means that the minor subcommittee will continue to be myself, Bob Thomas, and Maher Rafik.
Do we have to vote on that or no?
All right, so that would be my nomination, myself, Bob Thomas, and Maher. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Robert LaCourte,
Yes.
Mark Dancy, Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Mahir Rafik,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Okay, now we'll go to the rest. So, minutes of the regular meeting for December 3rd, 2025.
Only Mark Dancy and Charles Brown cannot vote.
I'll move those minutes.
Second.
Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Robert LaCourte,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Mahir Rafik,
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Having taken care of the minor subcommittee appointment, our other discussion item is Baldwin Realty extension of time. Do we have anybody here representing Baldwin?
We do.
Oh, Matt.
Good evening, members of the board. Matt Flynn from Savo. Oh, sorry. It's a hot mic.
No kidding. Careful.
Better? Okay. Good evening, members of the board. Matt Flynn from Savo Shock on behalf of the applicant. The applicant was granted preliminary and final major site plan approval with variances on January 3rd, 2024. As this board is aware, under Section 52 of the Municipal Land Use Law, the final site plan approval remains valid for 2 years after entry of a resolution, subject to the applicant making up to 3 one-year extensions of time requests, which we have put in with the board back in December. So we would request an extension of time through January 3rd, 2027. The basis for the extension under subsection D of that same statute is that we remain outstanding with our water department approval. So we actually need approval from Franklin Township Water. We don't have access to water on the site yet. We're negotiating with them, so we'd ask for a 1-year extension of time.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. Any questions from the board?
I'm glad to hear that the project is still alive. I'm so proud of such a green structure coming in, and I was afraid that that requirement for a water line was going to kill it. But I hope that you can succeed in those negotiations.
Okay, well, with that, I will make a motion for an extension of time to January 3rd, 2027 for Baldwin Realty.
I'll second.
Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Robert LaCourt,
Yes.
Mark Dancy,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Mahir Rafik,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Robert Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Okay, public comments. So this is the time when we entertain any general planning comments from the public. If you are here for either of the hearings, Davidson Property or Odin Dune, those will be opened in their own time when they are heard, so you can comment on them at that time. So with that preamble, I make a motion to open to the public for general planning comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody want to, please, and state your name and address in the mic, and,
Just comment.
no, let's hope that's on.
I guess it's on, right? No?
The green light's on, so
Got the green light, so,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
you have to speak into it.
I'm Ernie Levis, 21 Como Drive. I've been there 55 years, going on 56 years now. I just have a couple of questions.
Can you
maybe
just
for
put the mic a
attorney,
little bit,
For the builder, I'm sorry?
can you just put the mic a little bit closer to your
Oh,
face?
hold on just a second. Are you speaking about Odin Dune, that application?
For the 14 homes.
Yeah, that's going to have its own public hearing once we hear their testimony. So can you hold your question until we reopen for that? This part of the meeting is for general planning comment. Like, I don't know, something general, not specific to that application.
I just wanted to ask about the sewers.
Yeah, no, you can do that, but when we open for that here at
Okay.
that time.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else for any general planning comment not associated with the two applications tonight? Seeing no takers, move to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, hearing, first hearing, Davidson Properties LLC, PLN 23-00007. And I assume, Matt, since you haven't moved, you're probably going for this one too.
Thank you, members of the board. Again, for purposes of the record, Matt Flynn from the law firm of Savo Shock on behalf of the applicant, Davidson Properties LLC, here tonight, applying for preliminary and final major site plan approval with variances to construct an approximately 35,000 square foot warehouse on property designated as Block 468.01, Lot 20.01 in the Township, better known as 230 Davidson Avenue. As with a few of these applications and noted in Mr. Healy's memorandum, this application for a warehouse was deemed complete prior to the passage of Ordinance 439122 and thus is a permitted conditional use in the subject business industry BI zone. Because we can confirm and will confirm in testimony that this project is at least 500 feet from residential and it's served by public water and sewer, the application is a permitted use. Limited variance relief from the bulk standards of the zone is required, which we will outline in our testimony. And one more note, the site already houses an existing light manufacturing use closer to Davidson Avenue. That use is unrelated and largely unchanged by this application. So our application will be dealing with the building addition to the rear of what's existing. With me tonight, I have four witnesses. Our civil engineer, Joe Holzefeld from Bowler Engineering, our project architect, John Menino, our traffic engineer, Betsy Dolan, and last, our professional planner, Paul Rickey. With that, unless there are any legal questions, I'd like to call our first witness and have him sworn. Okay, Joe? Joe? And then here, this should.
Good evening. If I could just swear you in quickly? Sure. If you could raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Sure. It's Joe Holtzapfel, last name spelled Holzapfel, Bowler Engineering. Address is 125 Half Mile Road in Red Bank, New Jersey, 07701.
Okay. I'm connected to the screens, but they have not come on.
We'll definitely figure it out, as long as you're not running up here with an easel. We'll get
I mean,
it
we
there.
can do that if that's what you want.
No, you can't anymore. Here we go.
I think he brought one just to be safe, but, okay, here we go. All right. So do you want your site plan set, or do you want to start with A1, Joe?
I think we start with A1.
A1, okay.
Can we get while we're waiting for all this, can we get just the benefit of Joe's
Yeah,
qualifications
sure,
on
Joe.
record?
Can
so
you
we can?
go through your qualifications, please?
Sure. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, graduated from, graduated from the New Jersey Institute of Technology with my bachelor's in civil engineering. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, have testified in front of several boards, and my current license is my status of the license is current.
Accepted.
Great. Joe, I believe you want to mark an exhibit for the record?
Sure. So what you see here, and can everybody see this at least holistically, and then I'll zoom in and out. So what we have here is our first exhibit. We'll call it an aerial exhibit. Mark it into evidence as A1. Does that work? Yep. Okay. So just for orientation, north is to the, we'll say the top left corner. The site is outlined in yellow. The date of this exhibit is tonight's date of January 7th, and this exhibit was prepared by my office. So I'm going to use this exhibit just to run through some of the existing conditions, and especially some of the sites circulating around this site. So again, site is in yellow. You can see here it is known as 230 Davidson Avenue, as Mr. Flynn had indicated. We are block 468.01, lot 20.01, and we're here tonight for preliminary and final major site plan. The site is approximately 4.82 acres, and we are located in the BI zone. The surrounding uses, as you can see, generally office to the northwest, with Davidson Avenue to the northwest as well. To the south and southeast, you have some additional offices, and then directly to, we'll call it the southeast property line, the longer property line along this, if you're following my mouse, is more of an industrial outdoor storage type use. The site as it exists today, if I zoom in a little bit more, you can see in the northwest corner, we do have a full movement access off of Davidson Avenue. I'll get into it a little bit more in the proposed conditions, but the access will generally stay in the northwest condition. It will move slightly, we'll call it west or southwest, but generally in the same location. We do have an existing building that's approximately 13,000 square feet, light manufacturing use. And as you can see, a lot of the circulation of this site, we'll say, is fairly inefficient. There are some one-way circulation aisles around we'll call it the sides and the rear of the building. There is a larger parking field in the front with several parking spaces for the use. And then really towards the rear, you see some additional, we'll say, impaired areas with some wooded area in the rear. I will now look at the next. I'm now going to get into a little bit of the proposed conditions, so we'll mark this into evidence as Exhibit A2. This is essentially exactly the overall site layout plan that was part of the package that the board should have received. And you can see it is now colorized, and we have superimposed some landscaping on it just for visual and for tonight's presentation. The date of this exhibit is also today's date of January 7th, 2026. And again, for orientation, we'll consider north to the top left corner of the page. So from a proposed standpoint, I'll talk about a little bit more of the front of the site, or the north side of the site a little bit. We do have that existing building. It does largely remain in the same area. Oh, that's helpful. It does largely remain in the same area. One of the great aspects of this application is we are looking to enhance and make the parking in this area more efficient. So we have added some essentially all the aisles are two-way. We do have standard parking. I'll get into some of the details specifically, but you can see instead of the building having almost head-in parking directly to the building face, we are providing curbing, 5 to 6 feet of curbed and grass area, and sidewalks in between the parking and the building. And with the efficiency that we were able to have here, we are also able to increase, we'll call it the area between the property line and this initial row of parking on the north side. Originally, it was less than 30 feet. Now we're looking at about 75.5 feet from the property line to that first curbed area. Continuing on, we'll say southeast, we are proposing a new building. This is a proposed warehouse building. Gross floor area is 37,461 square feet, with the breakdown of warehouse and office being 35,511 square feet of warehouse, 1,950 square feet of office, which Mr. Flynn had indicated is a conditional use, hence why we're currently at the planning board. As you can see, this building is constructed behind the existing building. And for southern landscaping, again, I'll get into some further detail, but just wanted to outline for the board, we are looking to maintain a lot of that rear tree area and add a substantial amount of trees to that area. In terms of setbacks for the building, we are proposing to be in compliance with setbacks from both Atrium Drive and from Davidson Avenue. The setback dictating the Davidson Avenue is from the existing building. It's approximately 145 feet. And the rear yard setback is a little over 540, we'll call it a rear yard, but technically going to Atrium Drive is about 540 feet, a little more than that. With that said, part of tonight's application, we are proposing a variance for the side yard setback. So I do want to talk about this a little bit. Per the code, you are allowed, each side yard needs to be at least 10 feet, so we are complying with that. However, there is a second part of the code which indicates that you need a combined side yard setback of 50 feet. So currently we are proposing 44.65 feet when you add the two side yards together of 10.15 and the 34.5 on the eastern side of the property. From a site circulation perspective, we are looking to favor the southwest property line in terms of having the building be closer to that property line due to the fact that we are showing this drive aisle along the eastern side. It'll be continuous, allows access to both buildings, and then allows the truck circulation at the rear where you see these loading docks. It is worth noting that even with this variance, we are proposing to be well within the lot coverage or the building coverage of this site of about 23%, where 50% is permitted, and FAR, where we're proposing about 0.27 FAR, where 0.5 is permitted.
So let me just ask here. I'm looking at Mark Healy's planning report and the comments that he makes on some of what you're talking about, Joe. And while I fully understand that your planner will probably come up and testify why these variances are justified under whatever criteria that you choose, from an engineering perspective only, I would, and I think we are all understanding kind of where this is, so we can probably expedite going to the reports and kind of narrowing down on what we really want to know. I'd like you to be able to address Mark's comments 3, 4 about those setbacks and why he thinks you should comply with them or could comply with them. I think Joe was getting into that, but I kind of just wanted to let you know where I was going.
So, Mr. Chairman, the setback issues that relate to the drive aisles and the parking, I think Joe can hit on.
Mm-hmm.
As for the side yard setback and the way the building is laid out, that's very specifically a question that our architect will address and then our planner. It has to do with the internal racking of the building. We will provide a justification under the C2 criteria that it is a better zoning alternative as opposed to changing the current building layout.
Okay, that's fair. In terms of the loading zone width, this is a common variance we've seen in many warehouses. I don't think Mark calls it out particularly, or in the width of the parking lot drive aisle. But yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can I actually,
Yeah.
the loading zone width variance has actually been eliminated because we're not going to have.
So the loading is compliant. We are showing a 60-foot loading bay with a 70-foot, we'll call it an aisle. So that's 130 foot. Part of the latest updates to these plans is we are proposing WV50 access only, and your loading area is a function of the largest truck. So when you do that, you only require 110 feet plus or minus, so the 130 would comply. Previously, it was a WB67 was anticipated. That would be 147 feet, I believe, so therefore being higher than the 130.
And we would accept that as a condition to eliminate
Thanks
that
for
variance.
that explanation. No, that's great. Always good when you take them off, right?
Yep.
So, other than the one that you just said that your architect will address, then let's kind of zero in on the ones that then Mark's report and kind of go into that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to discuss the setbacks as they relate to the drive aisles and the parking area? And our traffic engineer will address the 24 versus 26-foot drive aisle.
Okay, great. And I think, circulation, parking, drive aisles will be kind of the next part of this. So from a circulation perspective, I had indicated that we are generally maintaining the approximate location in the northwest corner. The driveway coming into the site is 30 feet wide. We are requesting a variance for 24-foot internal drive aisles versus the code required 26. In terms of parking, we are proposing 70 parking spaces. We are compliant with the electric vehicle charging ordinance as well as ADA in terms of number of parking stalls. And we are proposing a variance. We'll talk about it in two sections. When it comes to the side yard setback, 5 feet is required per your code. We are proposing a 2.1 foot setback on the northeast property line. It's along this drive aisle. It is worth noting that under existing conditions, it was essentially 0. The curb was essentially on the property line. One of the reasons why we are looking for that variance request for 24-foot aisles, which is very common, and we're trying to make that setback as best as we can. The second is a 2.5-foot setback, and specifically it is for the EV spaces, as you can see here along the southwest property. We are having these EV spaces be a little larger, and really what that's for is to help with accessibility of those EV. It's near the ADA and provides the ability for the EV per the state code, as well as providing access to the ramps and whatnot getting to the larger building.
Would you agree that in addition to the 2.1 feet, when you get to the portion of the site that is going to house the warehouse, the drive aisle actually moves further away from that side yard?
That's correct. We were able to reorient that a little bit so that we can get that further and provide as close to that 5 feet as we can, if not more. So the loading, spoke about that a little bit. We are proposing 5 loading bays at the rear. Had talked about the ability to not need that variance in terms of the width. Trash was a comment in some of the comment letters that we received from the town. We are proposing an enclosure along the northwest corner of the site for the existing building. You can see it here along this parking aisle. And then in terms of the proposed building, due to the size and due to some of the internals, we are anticipating that trash and recycling being handled internal to the building, and will then be carried off by a private hauler, and we'll use that rear area to handle a lot of that. Now, in terms of signage, there was an existing freestanding sign along Davidson Avenue. I can approximately show it on Exhibit A2. It was in this general area. It was actually straddling the property line and over. We are proposing to relocate that more to the northern corner of the site, and will remain the same in terms of size, and will be within compliance when it comes to the setback from that front property line. From a utility and stormwater perspective, many of the utilities will be coming from Davidson Avenue. From a stormwater perspective, we will be compliant with DRCC and New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection reviews. And I'll end with landscaping and lighting. So from a landscaping perspective, we are proposing 277 total new plantings, 177 of them, which are trees. As I had mentioned, we are looking to enhance the area in front of the site along Davidson Avenue by adding more trees and allowing for more of that area between the property line and that initial curb line. Again, we are looking to enhance the first existing building with additional grasses, lawns in front of the building, accent some of the sidewalks that are also along that building without having parking be head on to the building. And then, as you can see, having a line of evergreens along the southwest property line, and again enhancing that rear tree-laden area.
So it's the intention of the applicant that it will comply with the tree replacement ordinance by planting as much as we can and then making a contribution in lieu.
That is correct.
So we would accept that as a condition of approval. Are you in receipt of Mr. Mazzi's report dated
It is December 31st.
December 31, 2025?
Correct.
And as a condition of approval, do we agree to comply with each and every one of the recommendations contained in that letter?
That is correct.
Okay, and we are in receipt of the updated review from the fire department?
That is correct.
We can comply with that as well?
Yes.
Okay, and finally, with respect to sidewalks was mentioned in Mr. Healy's letter, we would submit that we would ask for a waiver for that. You guys have heard a lot of these applications along Davidson and Atrium. It's not particularly walkable, so we'd ask for a waiver from that. I think, if I remember correctly, there's been 4 in the area and 3 have been granted waivers for sidewalk, but we're willing to address that.
I'm going to ask Mark to comment on parts of his report. Thank you for going through those staff reports expeditiously. We'd love to hear that you can comply. Just in reading them, I get different numbers from the trees. Just make them consistent. I see different numbers in Mark's report versus, and I think you must have the latest ones. Just make sure that those are reflected on the plans.
Understood.
And noted that it's, that you'll comply. Before I go to Mark, Darren, do you have anything, any questions that you want to specifically address in the engineering report?
I do not. I spoke with the engineer yesterday, and we went through a high level on my comments, and he said he has agreed to satisfy him for what I'm looking for.
Excellent. Mark, we've heard the engineering testimony, at least, on the variances that you called out in your report. Do you have any questions or clarifications for the board on those? Or for the applicant?
No, not at this time. I'm absorbing their comments and kind of going through my report. If something comes to me, I'll ask to address the question.
I mean, they seem fairly de minimis, and then, I hear that the drive aisle setback is sort of the existing condition is 0, and you're improving the existing condition, which is good, going in the right direction. So, I mean, if there's anything that you feel, Mark, from a planning perspective that we need to know as a board to be able to potentially, pending the planning testimony, grant these variances, please let us know.
Will do.
Board, any questions for our engineer? Ted, go ahead.
Well, I'm a little concerned. Your landscape plan shows a whole lot of trees being planted in the rear portion of the lot where you already have some trees. And will you be able to respect the existing trees? It's always better to save existing trees and yet get as many trees in as you proposed. Plus you have, I think, 2 pipelines going through that part, and you can't plant directly over the pipeline. So one is, I guess, a drain from the retention basin. I don't quite know what the other one is, but
Correct. I believe you might be seeing a water line.
yeah.
Which in some of the comments that we will be complying with, we will be speaking with the water department and the fire department. And currently it is being asked to be removed, so there likely won't be a water line through there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that will make probably a little more room for the trees to be planted there.
Correct.
I suspect, I'm trying to remember because I did go by the site and look at it, but it was some time ago. You probably got some multi-floor rows and that sort of thing in there that you probably want to clear that out to make room for new trees that you're planting.
Okay. And correct. And I think it did come up in one of the professional comment letters as well, in terms of very similar questions. So thank you for that. And I think the approach is, yes, to maintain the existing trees just due to them being established. It is going to be on the contractor and the applicant to keep those alive, especially for a certain period, right, as required. So those will be replanted as needed should they die.
One other thing, I think Mark mentioned, yes, there are no idling signs, but not exactly where the Environmental Commission asked for them. And I looked, the one place that you don't have one that we would ask for one is right on the wall where the loading docks are. Probably one above the middle loading dock would be sufficient there, but you have it on the other side of the lot there, so that we want the driver of the trucks to see the no idling signs. And
No problem.
Absolutely, we can have that.
and your sign, no idling zone, is too simple. There is a state specified no idling sign. I asked another member of the Environmental Commission, and he gave me some information. I can even give you the hyperlink to that. And I think the specific sign is SKU:1294-NJ that I think is more specific about not idling and the penalties, possible penalties if you're reported, if a truck driver is reported. And if you have sufficient no idling signs up, then the property owner is not liable. Only the truck drivers are liable for violation of no idling for more than 3 minutes, which is a state law.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we would be happy to look into that. You're telling me for the first time, and I don't want to opine about liability for the property owner, but if you're saying I wrote down the citation you gave, we'll look into it, and if that is a better alternative, we'd be happy to provide it.
Yeah, and I have the hyperlink here, but it's too long to recite. I can give it to you.
Well, you have the SKU, so
I got it.
probably
Yeah.
order those off Amazon.
Yeah.
We could do that. Work with the engineer on that.
Sure.
We could do that.
Yeah, and usually we would not want trees planted on the floor of a detention basin, but my fellow Environmental Commission Googled Chionanthus and found that it is specifically endorsed for planting on the floor of detention basins, which is something I didn't know about before. So that
Correct.
would
Yeah.
be-
It's as part of the BMP bioretention. These are required for that type of mix of plantings. Yes.
No, okay. So I think that's everything that I
Okay.
had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one concern, and I'll just bring it up. It doesn't have to be dwelt on. I don't have to dwell on it too much. I'm concerned now that we missed the boat again because I have some mixed feelings about the sidewalk issue.
Are you referring to
You're
along
a
Davidson?
property or two from a restaurant. You're also relatively close neighbors to a potential affordable housing project. You made an accurate statement that it's not walkable, so that's true. It's not walkable because there's no place to walk. But if you travel Davidson, there are a number of people walking in the shoulder in the roadway because it offers bus service. I think it's time, personally, I think it's time we started insisting on sidewalks on at least one side of Davidson Avenue. I don't know how the board feels about it. I don't know whether this is the side to start, but at least it's brought up for a quick review. You can drop it or go after it, whatever the board wants to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can only address it application by application, but I've come to appreciate what you're saying, Bob, in that we sometimes are left with buyer's remorse by not insisting on them. So let me ask you this, Matt and Joe. Can they be provided and not substantially change your plan?
I'm getting yes from the audience.
Okay.
So
I mean, would they create any variances? Because now's the
No.
time to think of that, or exacerbate anything.
we're way under on impervious.
Yeah.
So
So if your testimony is that you can provide them, I think I would be in favor of providing them, because what I've found, and I think the board would agree, is that uses change.
Right.
Right, over time, and then, what was you don't want to do it because there's nothing, you're just walking from warehouse to warehouse or from light industrial to light industrial. And then we have office buildings interspersed, and then those office buildings become, say, affordable housing, or they become something else. And then we don't have those anymore. And so we saw it with NPH, right? Right now we have to maybe use part of the sidewalk fund to connect to New Brunswick. So I think it's always best, I would like to have them.
Yeah, I know we've had this discussion on multiple applications, so.
Yeah.
And more of just food for thought. The applicant, I think we're okay with it. We're good with it. Question is, I believe the one that did require it was across the street. So I just get nervous when you have pieces of sidewalk across the street. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to
We're
have them
okay
on
either
both
way.
sides of the street, but
Okay.
I mean, it's just one of those things that I don't like sidewalks to nowhere. I mean, if you're in a residential area where the curb, like we've all seen the houses, right, where the curb comes right, the grass comes right up to the street. There's no curb, there's no place to walk. There never will be a place to walk unless somebody comes in and completely redoes it, right?
Somebody has to be first.
Exactly.
Understood.
But when you're talking about this type of use and you can do it, it always makes sense to do it, I think.
It's fine.
Okay.
Oh, Mike?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just thought of one more thing that really came out of the testimony earlier about the sign. It was mentioned that the warehouse use will not have any connection to the use of the existing building, and it indicated what the current use of the building is. So I was wondering, if you have a sign in front, which is it going to advertise, the existing building or the warehouse? Or will there be one sign advertising both?
So the way the sign currently is, I believe it does have two panels, and the idea is that you would keep the same panels and you can work with the paneling depending on the tenant, because that sort of thing. So the overall area size will stay the same, though.
Yeah, so you don't have anybody lined up as a tenant for the warehouse.
Correct.
No, it's a spec construction.
Correct.
One of these days, we're going to suddenly find out that we have too many warehouses.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we really can't address that from a legal perspective, so.
And I would just add that the intention of this is it's smaller. It's more for local businesses
Oh,
than
it's very small. As warehouses go, it's one of the smaller ones we've probably seen. But I assume the two existing uses are still going to continue as they
Correct.
are. So
Correct.
it's not like the site's going to be completely fallow from the get-go.
Correct.
Right.
Actually, I'm kind of sorry you're not the property next door, because I think that outdoor storage facility is a disgusting mess. I originally thought maybe this would be good because it'll hide everything and remove it, but
We can only control the property that we own.
agreed.
Yeah, we can worry about that. And actually, Bob, hold that thought till the end of the meeting, because I have an idea, but, well, I'll save it till then. All
Yeah,
right.
we had some discussion at the Environmental Commission about buffering, and I commented that given what's next door, there's no point to having buffering. And on the other side, of course, you have a parking lot, so, I know you've got a very tight space there. There's no real room for planting bushes for buffering, but it's not as if there's a residence next door.
Understood.
Ted, you read my mind, because I was, just as you were speaking, I was looking at the plan and thinking if I should make a comment about having, why is there no landscaping along the southerly side of the proposed warehouse? And then I look and they're not screening. It's not like, as you said, it's not like a residence next door.
Yeah, well, you heard Bob's description of
Yeah.
you.
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I know Ted brought this up before. Could you just bring up the rear of the site? Because I did have some questions about, two related questions. I mean, one, it was just unclear to me, the areas on the rear of the site that is going to be preserved in terms of trees. And then Ted brought up my comment about the viability of planting trees in the area where you're preserving trees, and how are those going to be maintained? If it's basically a forested area, that seems to be what's depicted on the plan.
Correct. So it shows it a little better in terms of limited disturbance, but there is a pocket of, we'll say, untouched area. And then to the point I was trying to make was we are looking to be in favor of maintaining the trees where we can, plant where we can with the 177 that we have. There will be the requirement to keep them alive. Right now, there's no anticipation of irrigation, pretty typical for trees like that, but they will be native species, and it'll be during construction to find the viable locations to plant the 177 and keep them alive during construction and for that 1 to 2 year span.
So is this, what's depicted on here? Is this a mixture of existing and proposed?
That's correct.
Okay. I think, again, I reviewed this a few months ago, but I think the comment was, and it's a pretty common issue that comes up on site plans, that sometimes the tree preservation limits and the clearing limits aren't consistent. So I guess, and I was trying to read the plans on my phone. A little hard to do that on a phone. So my comment is just make sure that they're consistent on the revised plans.
We can do that. I did see that comment. I believe it was number 2 in your comments regarding landscape. Correct.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I have a comment.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Now that we're proposing the sidewalk, which I'm in favor of, on Davidson, we should have a connection from the roadway to the front of the building, the immediate building. Are you changing that at all to allow for that connection, or no? Pedestrian access on site is a concern for me.
We can take a look at that. As you know, it's going through the site, and really what we're going to take a look at is just the impervious coverage surfaces and how that impacts some of the design. But we could work with the engineer on that and see how we can accommodate.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe Matt will move to your architect so we can get through that. We'll have you, and then do Betsy, or maybe then do your planner, and then do Betsy, or Betsy and your planner.
Okay.
That's up to
Mr. Menino.
Yeah.
Good evening. If you
Good
could just
evening,
raise your right
everyone.
hand. Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
John Menino, Mannino, Sermonera Architect, 224 Courtyard Drive, Hillsborough, New Jersey, 08844.
Can you provide the board the benefit of your professional credentials?
Yes, I am the principal and owner of Sermonera Architect, have been now for 6 years since the previous ownership retired. I'm a graduate of Philadelphia University, which used to be College of Textiles and Science. I've been a licensed architect in New Jersey as well as 5 other surrounding states.
Accepted.
Yep.
All right, John. Do you want to start by marking an exhibit, or do you want to start by going through the floor plan?
Yeah, let's
call.
open up the floor plan.
Here's your submission.
Okay, so on the screens is the exact floor plan that was issued as part of the application packet. It is representative of the proposed building floor plan as well as a building cross-section. I don't know if you need this as in a separate exhibit since this has already been submitted on record.
No, it was submitted 10 days in advance? Okay, so it does not need to be marked.
I don't really need to touch on much of what Joe talked about in engineering. I'll just highlight it. We're looking at a single-story warehouse building of approximately 37,000 square feet. It's been designed to accommodate 36-foot clear height interior, which is really what the market demands for warehouse storage type capabilities. It accommodates 5 loading docks at one end of the building and 1 drive-in door. The footprint of the building is 318 feet long by 118 feet deep. And again, the cross-section there identifies the height. The height of our building on the high side is approximately 44 feet above finished floor to the top of the parapet.
So maybe if I could interrupt,
Sure.
there's not to be, how do I phrase this correctly? The board probably is more interested in the outside than the inside.
Yeah, no problem.
So unless there's anything unique or particular, we don't really control what's in between the four walls. If
was
you're not
gonna use-
asking for a height variance or anything, what I think the board will want to see is, a colorized rendering of what things will look like on the outside, and if you can address anything in Mark's comment number 5, design of BI uses, that attractively landscaped. I think Joe more or less covered that, but anything else that deals with appearance is probably what the board would be most interested in.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I was only going to use the floor plan to address your recent comment about racking and layout inside the building with respect to the side yard setbacks.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm sorry about that. I forgot. You were going to handle that variance. Okay.
So with the floor plan on the screen and the identification of the 36-foot clear height, the building footprint was looked at a number of different ways when it was first laid out. And as we all know, it's a very narrow and long site. It was a balance to try to find a building footprint that didn't get too long, since the loading docks are at one end of the building, to be able to feed, a racked storage warehouse. The 5 foot 4 inches or 5.5 feet of difference that has been talked about regarding the combined side yard setbacks would actually equate to over about 600 pallet positions. So when we were looking at kind of efficiency to the building, the reduction of the width of the building would increase the length of the building probably about 25 to 30 feet to make up the same kind of yield that obviously our applicant was looking for. We were wanting to avoid growing the building any longer, which would impact more landscaping and so on. So we felt the lesser of the evils in terms of how we've presented the application.
Instead of lesser evil, would you say it's a better zoning
Better
alternative?
zoning alternative. I'm not the planner. So that is kind of how we went about that. We did a number of different studies, and certainly in order to make the build and the application viable, there are certain criteria that needs to be met to meet the market.
Having said that, do you want to show your rendering?
Yes.
And mark it as Exhibit A3 for the purposes of the record, Peter?
Yep. You got it. Thank you.
All right. So briefly just describe, this is going to be the proposed look of the building, and in construction, the visual will substantially match what's on the screen.
Yes. So what you're seeing here is an image at the north corner of the building. Best shot for us to do. It's a digital representation. It is 3 to 4 different color tones, as you see, with some stone accent veneer to help dress up the front facade that would face towards Davidson Avenue. This is the facade that you would primarily see as you enter towards the rear of the site. We tried to capture the elevation along the side of the building to show that we are continuing clear story windows, the paint pattern and aesthetic of joints around the building, which is actually continuous on all 4 sides of the building, to address the one comment that was in the report as well about articulating the facades on all sides.
And the existing facility is sort of behind what we see in this picture?
Yeah, we're standing in the space between the front building and the new proposed building.
Okay, can you touch on mechanical equipment?
So what you're seeing there right now is a transformer that'll be in the front foreground. As far as rooftop units, for a building of this size, we don't anticipate much in terms of rooftop units. 1 Cambridge unit would be sufficient, and there would be a small unit for any accessory office space that's being considered.
And to the comment from the Environmental Commission and from Mr. Healy, can you talk about solar-ready roof?
Yeah, so the building is designed to be make-ready in terms of the roof design for solar panels.
I have no further questions of this witness.
So I just want to see if I can paraphrase for the board your side yard setback argument. So if you were to comply and to get the square footage and the racking that you wish, you could comply, but it would make the building longer.
That's correct.
Which you would be, that wouldn't create a variance in and of itself, right? You could do that.
Correct. It would just it would extend the entire development further into the rear.
And so that would engender potentially, let's just say it wouldn't be more impervious coverage because it's just switching, right? It's just, but you'd be going back more into the undeveloped area than you would by, you said 25 or 30 feet.
Yeah,
So okay, so I just want to understand and paraphrase for the board that while you could do it, it creates a longer, narrower building that is potentially less attractive to a client.
Less attractive, less functional, and affects the existing conditions of the site more.
Okay.
I think Mr. Chairman, I think it might slightly increase the impervious.
That's
because
correct. We were just
you
going to
would have
mention
the
that.
driveway would have to get longer. And
Yeah, driveway gets longer.
In addition.
The width
Okay.
would be
Building, yep.
further.
probably a few percentage points.
Okay. Well, so, but maybe not to variance worthy, but I'm just trying to, a frame for the board, just kind of what the benefits are, to not use your, but what the, and I'm not trying to make your case for you, I'm just saying you would be well within your rights to build a longer, narrower building. You may have more impervious coverage, but you probably wouldn't exceed it, and you could make that work in the site, but it would make it less economically viable. It would make the site longer, narrower, and potentially less attractive for a big, long building, and less economically viable, which, to the point of none of us wanting warehouses sitting empty,
Right.
to Ted's point, is not. So those are all what you would consider positive criteria.
Correct, and it's important to note as well that we are compliant to the closest neighbor. It's the issue of combining the two side yards. So we are technically compliant to the southerly lot. It's above the 10 feet.
Okay, thank you. Board, any questions for the architect? If not, your choice of whether your planner.
Let's do traffic quickly, and then we'll have Paul hit cleanup.
Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Elizabeth Dolan, D-O-L-A-N, Dolan and Dean Consulting Engineers, 181 West High Street in Somerville, New Jersey.
And Ms. Dolan, have your credentials changed in the 3 weeks since you were last here?
No, they have not.
So we ask the board accept Ms. Dolan. Okay, maybe it's four.
Maybe four, right.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Okay, can you provide the benefit of your traffic report and its conclusions?
Yes, we prepared a report for the proposed warehouse. This is, as you've heard from now two witnesses, a relatively small warehouse compared to many of the other applications you've been involved with. 5 loading docks, just under 38,000 square feet. It's not a high generator. We're looking at 14 trips in the morning peak hour and 17 during the evening peak hour. So it's well below that level that is considered significant, which is defined as 100 trips in a peak hour, and certainly not going to have a negative traffic impact on the adjacent roadway system. We did a review of the site plan as well. You've heard most of that, but I was asked to touch on the 24-foot circulation aisle. That is the ITE's recommended width, particularly where you have perpendicular parking, and 26 just adds more impervious and is not needed to accommodate the circulation or the parking maneuvers. And I've testified in support of that 24-foot width in other applications. And that's really the sum of the traffic statement that's been prepared and submitted.
And you believe, in your professional opinion, that the site, even with that 2-foot deficiency, can be safely circulated by trucks and pedestrian vehicles?
Yes, it can, and I know that Bowler has specifically designed this with focus on the WB50, as you heard from Joe. We need to make sure that they're going to function. So with the turning templates and the geometry that is shown, there will be safe and efficient circulation for the various vehicle sizes that will visit the site.
I don't have any further questions.
Questions from the board? I would assume is full movement driveway and the existing, access to Davidson, that most of your traffic pattern would be to enter from and exit to Davidson and then head towards 287?
That's what we think. And I would just echo what Joe told you about the driveway redesign and parking lot redesign. There's going to be a much longer driveway throat before that first on-site intersection than under the existing conditions. So I think it's an improved driveway configuration.
Thank you. If there are no questions from the board, wrap.
Okay.
Thank you,
Mr. Ricky,
Betsy.
our professional planner.
Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please speak into the microphone before Christine yells at me.
Sure. It's Paul Ricky, R-I-C-C-I, 177 Monmouth Avenue, Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey.
And Paul, can you give the benefit of your professional credentials for the board?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I've been licensed since the year 2000. I'm also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, or national certification. I'm a planning consultant in 6 towns. I testify regularly in front of boards. I've been qualified upwards of 250 boards throughout the state, including this board.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
So, Mr. Ricky, you've heard the testimony before you. You're aware that this application needs some C variance relief. Why don't you take the board through the positive and negative criteria and our burden of proof for those variances?
Okay. Sensing the tone of the chairman, I have a detailed outline here. I was going to summarize my outline. If that's not sufficient for the board, I will elaborate on the variance and the like. I know that the chairman and the board has already elicited a lot of the information I think the board needs to properly evaluate some of the variances being requested. Here, I just mentioned from a starting point, I mean, we did talk about this site from a planning standpoint. It is a somewhat unusual property. While this property does conform to your zone plan in terms of its width, exceeding 150 feet in width, the depth of the property exceeds a quarter mile in depth. And I think we all can recognize that a property with dimensions like this does create some inefficiencies on how it can be developed moving forward. When I looked at the site, some of the first things that I look at is when we're seeking variances, does the applicant exceed the building height, the building coverage, or the impervious coverage? If that occurs, there's a potential that the applicant is overutilizing the property. And a key factor here is that that's not occurring as part of this application. It's couldn't be further from the truth. Even with this addition, the building, in terms of the floor area and the floor area ratio, is essentially about a half of what's permitted on this site. So these variances aren't stemming from overdevelopment. It's here the applicant is trying to make the best use of the property in a meaningful way. And when you look at the side yard, I'm just going to maybe speak at this point. When you look at the side yard setback, which I'll call the north, looking at the top of the exhibit being shown here, that's, again, the 10-foot's compliant on both properties, but the actual building itself, as how it addresses the property to the north, will be an additional 5.5 feet away from the existing building. So the property to the north is not being negatively impacted with a new building that is approximately 21 feet lower than permitted by ordinance, that's stepped back further than the existing building. And then where I'm told it's largely PSE&G storage to the south that's occurring in the rear of that site, you have a compliant 10-foot side yard setback that's being buffered. Why is it, does it really need to be buffered? Probably not. I think the applicant's buffering the property so they don't have to look at of what's occurring on the adjoining property as well. So we're trying to make our property attractive to whoever may come in and utilize the property. I know Mr. Healy asked for us to discuss the conditional use standards. We are in compliance with those conditional use standards. I measured the nearest residential building well over 2,000 feet from the subject property. We have public water and sewer and the like. So we do meet your conditional use requirements. I saw this, again, application from a planning standpoint as an opportunity in an economic development area of the township to help the township meet its economic development objectives in a meaningful manner. I know that, warehousing today is becoming more and more frowned upon, including this township And again, I think the board recognizes that this is a very modest warehouse. This isn't a warehouse that you're seeing over at Atrium Place that I saw being developed right now. Even towns, and a town that I represent, where they've restricted warehousing, they still allow warehousing of 50,000 square feet or less that recognizes existing mom and pop operations that are more, not what you see in a modern warehouse today that most communities are concerned with those truck movements. So I thought that was very positive as well. And just so you're aware, the property to the south where the PSE&G is utilizing it, the setback that we were able to pull off of the survey of the building is approximately 8 feet. And then if you look on the exhibit itself, the two white top buildings in the center lower portion of the exhibit, you have two setbacks that are clearly well under the 50-foot standard. So we're not proposing a condition here that is out of character with the neighborhood as well. I'm jumping around a little bit. So here, in terms of the setback variances, it's our position that the benefits of the variance outweigh the detriments. You heard from the architect that this results in the creation of a more efficient building. By having a more efficient building, that building could be 25 feet approximately less in length. That reduces additional disturbance, results in less impervious coverage, will help retain and maximize the number of existing trees in the rear of the site. And overall, when you look at this application in its totality of an application that meets the front yard setback, see the applicant is actually pulling that parking field in the front further from the street and providing additional curb appeal and landscaping. It meets the one side yard setback, meets the rear yard setback. As I stated, it's less than half of the building coverage, meets your impervious coverage requirements. It's well under the proposed floor area, off-street parking and loading is compliant. So despite the fact that we're needing this variance, we are substantially compliant with your zone plan. And for that reason, this application would not result in a substantial departure from your zone plan. And the public good is not being impacted as I stated, we meet or exceed existing requirements or the existing condition of the building on the northerly property line. I kind of jumped around here a little bit. And for these reasons, again, this application meets several purposes of the municipal land use law. Purpose A, promotes the general welfare of the community. Purpose G, provides sufficient space to meet the needs of industrial users. By allowing that 5-foot setback, it advances purpose M, which is the more efficient use of land. And I partially mentioned this because I jumped around in my testimony, but I've already opined that the variances can be granted with a substantial detriment to the public good, namely the surrounding property owners, without a substantial impairment to the zone plan for the reasons I mentioned. And for all these reasons, I think this is a very positive application that results in significant improvements to the existing building, the frontage, and having the site being relayed out by Bowler Engineering. You have increased stormwater improvements. That's in terms of that stormwater is largely untreated today, and how that stormwater is being collected. So overall, the site is being improved as part of this application as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky. He is available for questions.
Any questions from the board? So just to ask, because I do this, it is your opinion that these variances could be granted under CETA criteria, and that the benefits substantially outweigh the detriments?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the board for anybody? If not, I'm going to ask to open it to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting is now open for any comment on this application. Anybody who is owed and due, just be patient. Seeing no takers, move to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Matt, turn it over to you to brief summary.
So as I said in my opening, we're requesting preliminary and final major site plan approval, with the variances outlined by Mr. Ricky and for the reasons outlined from our witnesses, subject to any conditions espoused in the staff reports, which I've said we can comply with. Ultimately, we feel this application even with the variances, a better zoning alternative than if we were to fully comply. And we do think we're taking a site that could use a little bit of a facelift and is providing that facelift for the community. So for those reasons, we'd ask for your approval this evening.
Thank you, Matt. I will make a motion to approve the preliminary and final major site plan. The variances stated being, get down to the variances. Total side yard setback, drive aisle side setback, with a parking lot, drive aisle, and parking lot setback, but not loading zone width. Under the C2 criteria, we will ask that you please look into your no idling sign per Ted's directions, revise your tree plan to make sure that the numbers all agree, and you are going to comply with all the comments in the staff reports and outside reports as well.
Second.
Sidewalks?
Oh, and inclusion, thank you, Jen, and inclusion of sidewalks.
Sidewalks and also limiting it to a WV50 vehicle?
Yes,
Yes.
limited WB50.
Correct.
And I'm sure Peter would have picked this up in the resolution, but it's also a conditional use approval as well.
Yes.
And they provided testimony demonstrating compliance.
Thank you, Mark. I amend my motion to that effect.
Bob second, right? Does he need to re-second since you keep adding things or no? No, I'm just.
Second.
Super duper.
Okay. Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Robert LaCourte,
Yes.
Mark Dancy,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
Mahir Rafik.
Yes.
Charles Brown.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes, I only wish you were able to refresh your next door neighbor.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Our second and last application on the night, that's carried from December 3rd, is
Picture.
Odin Dune LLC, PLN 240007.
It's worse in person.
Give you guys a minute to all hook up and do whatever you need to do. Yeah, good idea. Anybody needs to take a 5-minute bio break, we'll just take a brief break and we'll let you guys get set up. Yeah, I think technologically we look squared away, so we're going to come back into session here and hear Odin Dune LLC, PLN 240007.
I don't know where I am, but I can't get out of this.
Well, maybe you're technologically squared away now. We're not, but we'll see. There we go. Anyway, why don't we just start? Please.
Certainly. May it please the board, my name is Tim Arch. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of New Jersey with Bob Smith and Associates here representing Odin Dunn LLC. We are proposing a 16-lot subdivision. We're seeking preliminary and final subdivision approval to create 14 buildable single-family lots, as well as one lot that is dedicated to stormwater management facilities and one lot that is consisting of the private roadway and cul-de-sac. So technically, that's a separate lot. The property is located at 295 Cedar Grove Lane. It's located in the R40 residential zone, where single-family, what we are proposing is a permitted use. We do require some very minor bulk variance relief, namely from frontage requirements for 2 of the corner lots. One of those is the basin lot, so you'll hear some explanations as to why we feel that it's all justified. There's also a single technical impervious coverage variance for that roadway lot that I just spoke of, that Mr. Healy called out, that technically, if that is a separate lot, since it is consisting of just a roadway and a cul-de-sac, there is an impervious coverage, but we believe that that is a technical variance. It doesn't really apply the same way it would on a buildable single-family lot. There is a mention of a coverage variance for one of the single-family home lots. However, we are not seeking that. That was in a previous iteration. It was called out previously. We are not seeking any variance relief when it comes to the coverage of the homes, size of the homes, area of the lots, or anything beyond what I just mentioned there. All the single-family home lots will conform to the overall area requirements and are consistent with the zone standards. I think I can generally categorize Mr. Healy's comments in two separate categories, and I think we can address both. This is broadly. One has to do with tree preservation on the lots, and we will address that through the testimony of both our civil engineer. We have our licensed arborist here as well, and we do have a professional planner. But the other category has to do broadly with the architectural plans that we submitted. I'm always hesitant to submit architectural plans with subdivision applications because, quite frankly, we're not seeking site plan approval and we're not seeking any variance on the homes, but obviously boards like to see what type of a house could go on the lots. And so when we gave the architect essentially the footprint that is the maximum constraints that you could build a home on that in coverage, the architect does what architects do and they build a house that is to the limits of those buildable areas. And so some of Mr. Healy's comments have to do with, well, it looks like the house that's being proposed is rather large and an owner wouldn't have the opportunity to then maybe in the future put in a shed or any other accessory structure because they'd be over their coverage limits. I want the board to understand that this is not necessarily representative of the homes that are going to be built there. The purpose of these lots is that each individual owner is going to be able to custom design their home on the lot. And so that means that they may decide that they want to build the home to, the biggest that the ordinances would require, or they may want to give themselves some more flexibility so that in the future, if they want to add to it or add other accessory structures, they can do that as well. What's important to note is we're not asking for any variance relief. So we're not asking this board to grant anything as to the designs of the homes, the size of the homes, the heights of the homes. Those will all be conforming, and that will all be handled through the building department when a building permit is applied and those architecturals are put in. They will determine if the homes are compliant.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I clarify something for
Certainly.
myself? Does this mean, Mark, that under this plan, every home that's built, that homeowner, potential homeowner, has to come to the through the building department, get a permit, go through all the inspections? There are like 14 individual site plans.
No, yeah, well, the process is generally for a subdivision like this is that, Mr. Archer's correct. The planning board, unless they're seeking some type of variance at the time of subdivision, which they're not for the homes, the applicants typically show kind of representative homes. Usually it's just square boxes on the lots. And then once the subdivision is constructed, typically, as the subdivision is being built out, they have to submit building permit plans and permit plans for each of those individual homes, and those get reviewed administratively by the staff for conformance with the subdivision as well as with zoning and then obviously applicable building codes.
But this one seems different. This one, he's saying that each owner is basically designing their own house. Now, do they come with their design to our building department so they meet all the setbacks?
As far as we're concerned, it doesn't matter whether it's one builder building out all 14 homes or individual builders coming in with each of them having different plans. We review it the same. We review it. It's the same criteria that we're going to look for. We're going to look for if there are, again, specific conditions that the board imposes as part of the subdivision. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at all of the applicable zoning requirements, building coverage, impervious coverage, setbacks, et cetera. And then the building code, building department's going to look at building, plumbing, electrical, fire protection, all of that. We review it the same regardless of who the applicant is.
Does that mean that you have a builder that's going to do all 14 homes, but they're going to work with the individual homeowner?
I don't know exactly if they're going to have a choice of a different builder or a different architect, but the idea is that these are custom-built homes, and so it's not that we're not going to build out 14 homes that are of slightly different, essentially cookie-cutter styles, and then try to sell those homes already built. The idea is to have the ultimate user, the end user, work during the process of designing those homes so that it's a custom home on each lot.
I understand that concept, as long as I'm sure that there is a single person or entity who's an intermediary between the potential homeowner and the township, so that any conditions that are put into the potential approval are universally applied. Yeah, I get a feeling that this is just 14, we're approving a subdivision with 14 lots. Now we have 14 individual homeowners doing whatever they want.
Well, they would have to do that within the purview of the ordinances. It would have to be conforming homes. No different than if you bought a vacant lot anywhere in the.
But who's representing them?
No, they would have licensed architects that would be drawing up the plans and submitting it to your building department to review, and your township professionals review it. Again, no different than if you bought a vacant lot.
And they would be doing that all themselves, as opposed to you as a developer being the representative of them to the township.
There very well could be a general contractor or developer that is doing that. It could be it going through us, but if they choose to go with a different architect, they would all be licensed individuals that are qualified to do that work.
All right, I just wanted to make sure I understood this. I don't want to see 14 people going in 14 different directions, and all of a sudden some of the conditions or something slip through the.
I can tell you that is the purpose of the building department review, is that there is a zoning review and a building department review. So any plan that is submitted for the construction of those houses would have to conform with the subdivision approval, assuming that there is one, and any conditions contained therein, and would also have to conform with the ordinances and the setback requirements, height requirements, coverage requirements, as well as any of the building code requirements. I apologize if I made it sound like this was that we're handing these over to 14 amateur architects who are drawing their homes on a napkin. That's not the case. These are the only reason I mention this, and I mentioned this in my introduction, is because many of Mr. Healy's comments are specifically pointed to the architectural plan that was submitted as a quote-unquote representative home. And I just want the board to understand that that is not necessarily the home that's going to be built. It's just to show that it's possible to build a home within the purview of your ordinances on the lots that we are proposing. And that is the purpose of submitting the architectural.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just ask though, because there seems to be, for what it's worth, there seems to be it seems to be a little bit of a pivot. I don't know how else to put this, but the application that was made had the applicant chose, for whatever reason, to present very specific architectural plans. They chose to do that. The township didn't ask for that. And those architectural plans raised a number of questions from me and from Mr. Mazzi. Some of those plans were even over the impervious coverage and building coverage. And now you're pivoting and saying, well, those were just theoretical, so disregard the comments from staff. So it's a little frustrating, I'll be honest with you, to kind of hear this pivot.
If I can be fair, Mr. Healy, we did speak about this when we met in October, that those were representative plans, and that, again, we are not seeking any variance relief for the homes that are built. And so ultimately, the homes are going to have to go through that building department process and the review. And if they are over coverage, then somebody would have to go back in front of a board with a request for variance relief in order to build a home such as that. So again, I only say this by way of saying that we are not asking for any coverage. And I know that you did bring up in your report that there may be variances triggered by this architectural plan. And again, we don't want to go. I don't want to waste this board's time or go down the road of parsing out an architectural plan that is not ultimately ever going to be built, because it's going to be up to the ultimate homeowner as to what they want their home to look like.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think Mark hit on it. at the top is normally, as you said, also, Tim, right? You normally just don't show that kind of detail. You did, it then engenders comments.
Understood.
So here's where I'm at, is that whatever disposition of this application in this form or any other form may take, the building envelopes will be regarded as you would have to comply with, just like what you said. The board, regardless of, again, how the overall subdivision may or may not be granted, will not opine as to the houses, right? What I think Bob, as also chair of the zoning board, is concerned about is you stick your big toe out and you're going to need a variance. If you build out to that envelope, somebody's not going to be able to put a shed in, a fence in. I think also from the gist of the staff reports, and correct me if I'm wrong, you also might have shown that detail to demonstrate that you were compliant with stormwater and runoff, or that you could build to those envelopes and be compliant, not necessarily that you will build to those envelopes, or that whomever builds, whether it's somebody's private contractor or whomever, will necessarily build to those envelopes. So that'll confuse the heck out of me, because it's not something we normally see in a residential subdivision. You see a square box on a lot, and you comply with the lot area coverage and all of those kind of things, right? So I think that's where the confusion. So thanks for clearing that up. Let's take what the houses will look like and everything off the table, because that's not really what we opine. It's like Mark said, it's the building department. We're not going to grant you implicit or explicitly anything, any variances or anything that would enable you to build monstrosities or over the impervious coverage of a lot.
Thank you. So I just want to acknowledge for the record, we do have the following report, since I did reference that. We do have the planning report dated December 23rd, a health department memo dated December 18th indicating I don't believe any comments, fire prevention memo dated December 15th indicating that they were satisfied, police report dated March 3rd indicating that they also had I don't believe any comments, environmental commission report dated February 4th, 2025, the engineering report, as well as a letter from the Franklin Township Sewer Authority. So we do acknowledge all of those reports. I do have 3 direct witnesses tonight. Chris Allais would be our first. He's our civil engineer. He's going to go over the overall site, describe the proposed plan, and address any of the report comments that we feel need to be spoken about. We have Matthew Weibel. He's our tree expert. He's going to testify as to his report, and then we have Allison Coffin, who's our professional planner. So unless there's any initial other questions of me, I'm ready to proceed with my first witness.
No, but go ahead and we'll see how things unfold.
Thank you. Chris, you would be our first witness.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Yes, my name is Christopher Saleh, last name is S, as in Sam, Z as in zebra, A-L-A-Y.
Can you turn your mic on, please? Thank you.
Hello? Okay. I currently work at Menlo Engineering Associates, located at 261 Cleveland Avenue in Highland Park, New Jersey. I received a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Rhode Island in 2008, and I've been a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey since 2013, and my license is in good standing. And I've testified before this board as well as a number of other boards throughout the state.
Accepted, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, if you please can, take the board through the site, our proposal, and highlight any relief that's needed and touch upon any of the comments in the reports that you feel need to be addressed.
Okay, will do. So tonight we have prepared a few exhibits for the board to consider. The first exhibit you will see on the screen, which I guess we can introduce as Exhibit A1, is an aerial photo exhibit of the site depicting the existing conditions of the site with the property boundary highlighted and a bit of the surrounding area to give everyone a feel for the property as well as the surrounding area. This exhibit's entitled 295 Cedar Grove Lane, Existing Conditions Exhibit, and it's dated January 7th, 2026. The second exhibit we have prepared is a colorized rendering of the submitted site plan over the same aerial background, showing the property with landscaping shown as well. This exhibit is entitled 295 Cedar Grove Lane, Overall Plan Exhibit, also dated January 7th, 2026. Going back to Exhibit A1, just to describe the property. So the subject property for this application is a long rectangular shaped lot, approximately 16.54 acres in area, designated as Block 508.02, Lot 12, as shown on the tax map of Franklin Township. Has approximately 451 linear feet of frontage along the west side of Cedar Grove Lane, which is also a county road, designated as County Road 619. And the property extends about 1,600 feet to the west, away from Cedar Grove Lane. The address is, again, 295 Cedar Grove Lane, which is about 1,300 linear feet north of the intersection with Como Drive. And the site is located entirely within the R40 zone, which is the residential zone district. Surrounding the property to the north and west, you'll see is mostly open space with some slim wood areas. And to the south and east are single-family homes. Currently, the property is partially developed, has a single-family home set back about 240 feet from Cedar Grove Lane with a gravel driveway. There's multiple sheds and remnants of old buildings per the previous use, which was mostly commercial and agricultural. The rear of the property is a mix of open space and woods. Historically, the site being an agricultural use was mostly cleared about 20 years ago when you go through the historic aerials. So the woods are relatively young in nature compared to more historic sites that have been untouched. But there are some areas that do have some older trees and larger trees on it. The site does slope from the northwest corner towards the south, towards the adjacent property owners, as well as to the southeast towards Cedar Grove Lane. And there's really no wetlands or other environmental restrictions located on the site. Moving to Exhibit A2. What the applicant is seeking approval for is a 16-lot subdivision. 14 of the lots will be occupied by single-family homes. One of the lots at the southeast corner will be occupied by an infiltration basin, and then the last lot encompasses a private roadway which will provide access to the site from Cedar Grove Lane. Being in the R40 zone requires a minimum of 40,000 square foot lots. The lots proposed vary in size from about 40,044 square feet to roughly 45,638 square feet, which is roughly a 200 by 200 foot lot. The basin lot is oversized at 1.62 acres, and the private road is contained within a 50-foot wide right-of-way, and the lot totals 1.88 acres. The creation of the lots by the subdivision plan creates only two variances. They're both lot frontage variances for the corner lots adjacent to Cedar Grove Lane. Lot 12.01, which is the most northeast lot, has a lot frontage of 167.32 feet, and lot 12.15, which is the basin lot to the southeast, has a frontage of 133.68 feet, where 200 feet is required for all frontages. And this is really just based on the creation of the roadway lot and the 50-foot wide right-of-way that reduces, as well as the radius of the road, which reduces the frontage of those two corner lots along Cedar Grove Lane. And the only other variance that we're seeking is for the roadway within lot 12.16, and it's mostly impervious coverage, which of course it's a road within being held to single-family home standards. So we're seeking a variance for impervious coverage for that lot as well. Regarding the subdivision and design, we are seeking approval for a private community. So it'll contain the 14 single-family homes, the private access road, and the stormwater basin, as well as other associated improvements. Access to the property is from Cedar Grove Lane, as I stated, via that private access road. The road is 30-foot wide paved road with curb running along both sides of the road. The road extends about 1,510 linear feet and ends in a cul-de-sac with a 90-foot diameter bowl, which is all in accordance with RSIS standards and compliant with RSIS standards. Proposing concrete sidewalk that will run along the perimeter of the road on both sides and connect to a sidewalk that will run along the Cedar Grove Lane frontage. And the road, curb, sidewalk will all be contained within that 50-foot wide private right-of-way of Lot 12.16. The entrance will be a full access roadway, so right turn in, right turn out, left turn out. And the entry will be a boulevard style, meaning that there's an island at the entryway which separates the ingress and egress to the site. We will be providing some landscaping in there to provide a nice, aesthetic entrance. And being a private community, the entrance will be a gated entrance. And the entrance will contain 2 lanes, which will be one for residents and one for visitors. The gate's set back approximately 100 feet from the right-of-way to provide space for queuing. Beyond the gate and entryway will be a decorative fence that extends to the north and south with crossing the sidewalk and towards the property lines. There will be a gate that allows access at the sidewalks, and that decorative fence will connect to a 6-foot-high decorative brick wall that will run along the frontage of the site along Cedar Grove Lane. That wall will extend to the northern and southern property lines, where a 6-foot-high solid fence will then run the perimeter of the site for its entirety. And again, being a private community, there's a sense of security that the applicant is seeking, especially for lots this size and homes this size. There's a market that the applicant is seeking to address, and it comes with a level of security that they're looking for. Inside the community, each lot will contain one single-family home that will vary in size, but as we stated, representative purposes, we showed a 50 by 80 foot box, which totals 4,000 square feet, which complies with the 10% building coverage requirement and permittance. The homes will each be accessed by a 20-foot wide paved driveway that will be with a side-loaded garage, where the driveways will extend about 35 feet to provide ample room for maneuverability and parking. Walkways are provided from the driveways to the front doors of the homes, as well as optional decks and patios in the rear. And as we discussed, the idea here was to design the site to max out, I guess, what is compliant with the ordinance as far as building coverage, lot coverage, impervious coverage, and then be consistent with the stormwater design the stormwater management to be able to handle should each lot be built out to its maximum ability. If we had designed, I guess, the stormwater for maximum coverages and then showed less than that, there would be some inconsistencies with the plans, which I think would have created some confusion. Oftentimes there are property owners, homeowners that want to come in and add a patio, add a pool, add a shed, and the question is, how are you going to handle the additional stormwater runoff? And when a single-family homeowner comes in, they don't know how to address that. So what we've done is really designed for the maximum build-out, even though these homes and coverages may not be to the maximum extent that is approved. The homeowner can always come back in the future and add features that will continue to comply with the ordinance and also be not have to worry about the stormwater management in the future. So just went through a bunch of this. So again, each home, it's designed, it complies with the 40-foot front yard setback. There's a 25-foot side yard setback, 50-foot rear yard setback, and the homes comply with the maximum 2.5-story or 35-foot height, maximum building coverage of 10%, and maximum impervious coverage of 20% on each lot. And again, the site is designed in accordance with RSIS standards, which are the residential standards required throughout the state. Turning templates have been provided as well to address the fire officials' comments as well as engineering comments to show that the largest fire truck and ladder truck can enter the site through the gated entrance, maneuver the site, maneuver the cul-de-sac, and exit the site safely. With that fire truck being able to maneuver the site, of course, smaller delivery trucks and refuse trucks will be able to maneuver the site as well. One thing that was discussed with the fire official and also with the engineer and planner is how that entry gate will function. And the idea is it will be an electronic entry gate that each resident will have a PIN code. They will have a code to enter into the gate or a key fob that simply when they drive up, the gate will open. They will also be able to provide the code to visitors to use the visitor gate. They'll be able to provide the code to UPS, FedEx, refuse, and the applicant actually reached out to a number of delivery services and confirmed that this is an acceptable way of handling the gate entrance and deliveries, and it's something that they are familiar with and comfortable with. And the gate will actually also be siren activated. So should there be an emergency, a fire truck pulls up, a police vehicle pulls up with the siren active, the gates will automatically open. And that was at the request of the fire official, and it's something that we can accommodate with the fire official. And with all of the common amenities, the gates and the equipment, and of course the private roadway and landscaping, we agree that all of these common amenities and even some of the private amenities throughout the site will be maintained by an HOA, and we'll agree to make that a condition of the approval. To handle, obviously, all of these improvements, this is a major development. We're increasing impervious coverage by more than a quarter acre. We're disturbing more than an acre of land, so this is a major development, and stormwater management must be addressed. So we're proposing to construct a conventional stormwater system, underground pipes, inlets that will convey runoff to a sand infiltration basin that's located on lot 12.15, which is that southeast corner of the site. And as I stated, the existing grading patterns of the site really grade to the south and towards the east. So we've located that basin kind of at the lowest point of the site to maintain existing drainage patterns to the maximum extent we can. Green infrastructure was utilized on the site to address all stormwater management requirements, such as groundwater recharge, water quality requirements, and water quantity requirements. Water quality was achieved by utilizing 5 aquaponic structures, which are smaller structures that provide media soil filters to filter stormwater runoff, comply with the 80% TSS removal rate that's required by the DEP, and these are DEP certified BMP structures. Runoff will be then conveyed downstream to the infiltration basin, which is designed to handle peak runoff from the site and make all required reductions, again, in accordance with the township, state, and local agencies to meet any required reductions before runoff is discharged downstream. And then within each, to handle groundwater recharge, which is essentially the amount of water that is infiltrated into the ground in existing conditions, we must match that under proposed conditions. So the way that we're handling that is by providing portions of the existing driveways where, when we did perform soil testing, there were infiltration rates. Portions of the existing driveways will be porous and have subgrade, what they're called Coltec chambers, which will provide additional storage and allow for runoff from the roofs of the single-family homes and some of the driveways to infiltrate into the ground and therefore meet the groundwater recharge requirements for the site.
So I hate to interrupt you, but there's, you went through a couple of things and now you're on stormwater, I think it's reasonable to kind of stop and there's certain things I'm very concerned about that I want to get addressed from the staff report. So as we're on stormwater, and I'm just referring to Darren Mazzi's engineering report, there's some comments there, and I just want to understand if you can comply with those, given all that you're telling us.
Sure. So, yeah, to address Darren Mazzi's report, the Center State engineering report dated December 31st, 2025, we really don't have any objection and feel that we can comply with all of the comments in Mr. Mazzi's report. There are a number of comments that I feel we can provide some additional testimony to. If we want to go through, I guess, each of those, or do you want to talk about stormwater specifically?
Well, yeah, I did want to go back to your gated thing, because there's a comment there, and I have the same, much the same question. I don't think it's practical to do what you're saying. But beyond that, I don't need the technical, and Darren is here, so he's certainly willing and able to ask. I need to know that you would comply with his report, or if you can't comply, tell us why, and have that discussion. So I don't need the technical things, but Darren, I just defer to you what you think is the most important in the stormwater part, and then I'll go back to the guardhouse later.
Sure, so Chris and I actually spoke on the stormwater back in October. There's just more of a definition on a BMP to where when you have the Coltech chamber underneath the porous pavement, the way it's presented, it wouldn't be approvable, but if you look at it as two separate systems, it is. So I'm asking him to just revise his report to show it as two separate BMPs, at which point it would be acceptable from a township perspective.
Right.
So stormwater-wise, we're pretty close there. The bigger question I have, again, is the gate, though.
Right.
Because I'm still concerned, I don't know if somebody comes with Uber Eats, if they're gonna how they get that code, potentially, garbage, you'll probably have a company, so you can give the code to them, but.
Not necessarily. I mean, the way garbage is handled in Franklin Township, it's everybody for themselves. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's practical. I don't understand why in a 14-home subdivision that you feel the need for all this type of bells and whistles. It's just, I mean, I know you could do it. I mean, I know other gated communities do it for fire and the people getting through, but those are also manned gatehouses. And you have 14. I mean, I don't care. It's your money, not mine. If you can divide the cost of 14 people maintaining everything you're saying, then I want their job, not the one I got. So yeah, I mean, I think you need a way to have Amazon, FedEx, trash, and not. I mean, if I go to Amazon and I order a widget, where the hell am I going to put into them and tell them, you got to press this gate? I'm lucky if I get them to actually bring it to my porch. So, I mean, I just don't see this practically working.
A couple things that I will note about the gate. Sorry, a couple things that I will note about the gate and about in discussing with the client is, one, I could say Amazon actually does have the ability, you can put in codes in different directions to the drivers, but again, I know not everybody is going to necessarily do that.
No.
It is this is a commercially available product that's used in many different communities all throughout the United States. So it's not something novel or new that we're proposing here. It is programmable so that for example, during daylight hours, it can be programmed so that the gate is always in the raised position and that is only closed during night for safety purposes and for security purposes. There was a question also as to the pedestrian gate access, and to make sure that if there was an emergency, pedestrians or people could exit from there. That system is set up so that there is no locking from the inside. You can always exit. There would only be a locking mechanism from people entering in, and that too can be controlled through on a timer system so that it only engages during nighttime hours, or it can be programmed to be on a schedule. And the systems default so that if there's ever any issue or glitch or power outage or anything along those lines, it always defaults to allowing access, not restricting access. And so I know that we can certainly provide much more information as to the specifics of this system, but I can tell you it's a very from my understanding, it's a very widely used system. It is successfully used in lots of communities, and it's very flexible to be able to allow for all different kinds of use cases.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the board doesn't actually, obviously have to grant that particular accoutrement. It's up to their discretion. I don't know how the board feels. I just don't see how you need it for 14. And on-man, look, it's like a coffee maker. The more bells and whistles you get, the more stuff that goes wrong. And I understand what you're saying, and if, if it were manned like it is in Somerset Run and other communities with thousands of homes, this looks like kind of an edifice complex thing that you're going for. Like, just make it big and showy and not practical. And I don't know. I don't support it. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks.
We did discuss the man gate, just to jump in, and found, just like you're saying, for 14 single-family homes, a manned guardhouse feels like overkill, where this
So does this,
system-
though. So does this.
Right, but-
I mean, again, I'm looking for board direction on one vote. I guess, I don't know.
I have a question, Ann. You have a right, to want a private access residential complex. I just want to know sort of why. Why in this case?
That I can tell you that is the style of development that the owner wanted to go for. Again, I think it's representative of a lot of other developments throughout the United States, and it's a feature to have sort of a private community and sort of a gated community that encourages that is sometimes a selling feature to certain individuals that want to purchase it. Again, is it a necessity in terms of that if it's not there, it's not as though the subdivision will function? No, it's a feature, and it's a sellable feature for people, and it's something that based on my client's market research is something that is desirable, that people want. So
Yeah, and it could be. I'm just telling you that I understand that this is a by right application and that it's a R40 zone, single-family residential, and you're proposing single-family residential. We don't have to prove a gate. Just understand that.
Absolutely. And if the board has any specific questions as to it, I sort of anticipate that I don't know if we're going to necessarily get to a vote tonight. We're happy to. If the board has additional comments or additional questions, we can certainly provide additional information if we don't get to a vote tonight.
So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of glad you went there, Tim, because looking at the hour, I'm kind of about to go there myself. What I would like to hear from the applicant is to focus on Mark Healy's report, because, and this may engender your tree expert, and again, we may not get to a vote tonight, but we've repeatedly asked you to kind of consider the cluster option. We have provided evidence that there's ample planning from like a C2 criteria, positive things, and I also take what Chris, what you are saying in that we're not talking old growth forest we're preserving. That being said, we can preserve some more open space. We can preserve some more trees. We can actually, you would still get the full 14 lots. Maybe you wouldn't, maybe those lots wouldn't be as big. But I think the overall development would be more enhanced and better buffered. And I think Mark presented in his report a lot of very positive criteria that the board would be very willing to consider. And I don't really even think it requires variances and things like that so much, that if you took care of the cluster. And he also provided examples along Cedar Grove in which that was used and used successfully. We also have our tree ordinance, which says thou shalt conserve as many trees as possible. You may be in successional growth, and yes, the ordinance does not differentiate invasives from non-invasives. However, ecosystems successional forest has taken over the United States since everybody cleared it for farming. And so it does sort itself out. Just to say that's not something we want doesn't do it for me. I understand the applicant has their preferences, But what will do it for me is to say, why do you think this is a better or planning alternative when we've kind of showed you a path that the board favors, and you're not really engaging us with that. So that's kind of like, in the time we have left, kind of where I'd like to go. I'd like to hear from Mark, and then we can talk about some other things. But I think that's a key sticking point for me.
To address that quickly, and we may be able to address that potentially through planning testimony, but one thing that I will say is that it does not apply to our site. There are very specific criteria as to when the cluster option in your ordinance is.
No, I get that. But we've done that elsewhere on Cedar Grove where it does not apply successfully.
But what you are asking is us to ask for relief from the ordinance for a cluster option that does not apply in lieu of a permitted use that does apply, that is by right by ordinance. And what that is the governing body is and I don't know if Mr. Vignola wants to chime in at any point, but the governing body are the ones that dictate what the zone standards are and what the ordinances are. And I, with all due respect, to say that the planning board thinks a better planning option is something that is not permitted in a zone versus what is permitted in a zone is strictly an issue that case law brings up that says
But
that
people
is not
do that. People do that all the time. That's why we go to the zoning board.
I do understand that, and I know Pete would say that, and I don't doubt that you're right. There are places along Cedar Grove with the exact same criteria, multiple places, not just one-offs, where it has happened. So it can happen, and basically that planning precedent, we have said through who's ever approved it, some on the zoning board, right? And some, like right across the street from you, on Restas, this board, that has said the cluster is something that we can do. Now, one thing I don't know is you never presented us an optional plan to say, board, Chairman Rossini, this is what it would look like, and we would require 10 variances, whereas this would only require the 2 or 3. I don't even consider the road a variance. It's a freaking road. Of course, it's going to have more impervious coverage. The other 2 we maybe could discuss. But I would like to see evidence rather than what I see in the staff's reports, which is the applicant hasn't engaged to actually show and demonstrate and testify to the board. This is why we don't think it's a better planning alternative. I understand what you're saying from a legal perspective, but I also have 4 or 5 other from Mark's report where it has happened, and Bob is probably going to tell you, he'll support me on that. But I just, from a planning perspective, I see a reluctance to sort of just engage us and have that discussion and say this is what we want. Well, yeah, we can grant you a 14-lot subdivision by right. It doesn't have to be what you're putting on this paper.
I'll let Chris respond to that if there's any technical reasons for it, but then I can respond after that. Yeah.
I mean, just regarding the variances and what would be required, right? So each lot's required a 200-foot frontage. So right now, each lot is just about exactly at the 200 feet. So if we were going to do the cluster option, we'd need at least 14 variances just for the lot frontages. Well, for each lot.
I'm sorry, I want to contribute. You're going down a wrong path, because that's not the way our cluster ordinance works. The cluster ordinance, if you go from the R40 to certain, if you go and you make, let's say you make the lots 20,000 square feet, then the bulk requirements of the R20 zone applies.
Okay.
So theoretically, the only variance that you would need is the use of the cluster ordinance. So it'd be one ordinance, it would be one variance.
It would be the criteria that trigger that, which is size of the overall lot, which I believe has 40 acres or more.
That'd be one variance. Theoretically, you could do it with one variance being, and we have done this, the one ordinance is, your ordinance says you have to have 40 acres. We have less than that, but we would like to utilize the cluster provision to save additional forested area, et cetera. And the board has done that. And that is a C2 variance. It's a better zoning alternative. So that, for those reasons, that's why I recommended that be considered.
Actually, we've done that, as Mike has mentioned, a number of times right on the same street. And one of the things that concerns me a little bit, I might be mistaken, I'm sure someone will correct me, this may be the only other than the age-restricted developments, this might be the only gated community in Franklin Township. It's something historically in the past when it's come up that this board has frowned upon and kind of discouraged people from doing. And I remember specifically a couple of different places. I'm not sure why you need that secure of a gate and a wall along the street in the area where you're proposing this development. It's almost like you're building a fancy prison. There's developments just like this all along the street. There are no gates. It seems that the gate is presenting a little bit of a problem. You might have more, might be a lot less expensive for you to do.
I don't care about the expense, that's on you, but I mean, to Bob's point, Princeton Run, Princeton Ridings, you could go down, all the Hans Vosgy Drive, all of those off of Butler. Huge, expensive homes, I'm sure quite in line with what, People's Line, all development, all the same. No gates, no anything. I don't think this makes for a community. It's like you want a little fort to yourself, and I'm sorry, I mean, I can only do so much with planning law, but I don't have to do the bells and whistles for you guys, and I'm not going to.
Understood, and I can certainly talk to I can talk to my client after, again, because I anticipate we're not going to a vote tonight. I can certainly speak to my client and ask them if that is something that can be, that the gated portion of it be relinquished. To comment as to, again, to the cluster option, it is not what we are presenting. We did consider it. My clients did consider it. The board is not going to want to hear this, but it's an economic decision. It's a business decision. It would be smaller lots. It would be smaller homes. It would be not as profitable as an option. But again, it's also, this is a permitted use. This is a permitted thing versus asking us to then request new variances and have that be a better planning option.
Well, you've got one, like you said. So let's take the plural out. All right, it's one that we said we would give you. Now, Tim, you're 100% right. You have a right to request what you have. It's compliant from that, but you think you can? And me, Mark, can you just pay attention here? We think you could probably still do better. And maybe there could be a way, if you look at the plans with the jaundiced eye, and maybe Mark has some suggestions, to accomplish a more conservation design than what you've got and still,
And that we're happy to do. In fact, one of the things that we're doing, because we now have, we have an arborist, a tree expert who has plotted and surveyed the trees on the lot. And we're happy to continue to work with the township, with our tree expert, with our civil engineer, to maximize the amount of tree preservation that is on that lot. But in terms of going with a cluster option versus a non-cluster option, again, that's something that was, again, suggested to us very early on. We did look into it. It is not an option that we are willing to take.
I thought after 28 years I probably have heard everything, but this is a first. Any of the times I ever remember us discussing cluster versus non-cluster with a developer, they've usually jumped at the idea that they could cluster a development and save money and consolidate services and everything. Here, we're throwing that at you almost, and you're saying, no, we don't want it, we want to do this.
The vision for this development is not to have a high-density, close-together buildings. We're not going for high density. We're not going for floor area ratio consolidation. It is going for a luxurious, high-impact community. And that is what the vision was, and I can't dictate what the vision of my client is or what the vision of the developer is. And we presented it within the confines of what the ordinance and of what the township allows us to do. I understand your positions, and I have to just say respectfully, that is not the proposal that we have brought before the board today.
And we understand that. That said, I still think the proposal that you brought before has a lot of questions that need to be addressed before it could ever come to a vote. And I wanted to just ask Mark, because I think he could have some guidance that, you know, would have been great if we'd had this discussion, kind of in an informal session first, right? But that's not the path you chose. So, and while you're correct that, you know, it is a by right application and all that, and I agree with Bob, it's sort of mind-boggling why you wouldn't want the cluster, but that said, I think we can do better with the spirit, if not the letter of that. So, Mark, I think you might have had some suggestions that maybe the applicant could consider.
And Mark, can you clarify, I heard Chairman say this, but we don't have to grant the gate, is what I'm hearing?
Well, I'm sure Peter can opine and Darren as well, but I mean, part of the board's review of a subdivision application is akin to a site plan review. I mean, you have to make sure that Darren, of course, is looking at the stormwater. Does the stormwater plan function appropriately in accordance with applicable rules and engineering practices? Similarly, I think the roadway and the access to this community needs to function appropriately. So I think things like how people are going to be able to access, how visitors, delivery people are going to be able to access this site. If they can't, that could cause issues like queuing. If vehicles can't enter and then now they have to turn around, is there adequate access for turnaround for the different types of vehicles that may enter this site? I think all of those things are appropriate considerations for the board as part of this application.
And we are not disagreeing with that. I did not say, and I don't want the board to think that I am indicating that you have to grant everything that we showed.
That was understood, but I think Mark also might have some suggestions in terms of the overall site plan, where, you know, the width of the buffer and various things could be increased without compromising the, and I'll put this in quotes, vision that you may have. So
and I think all of that is really outlined in my comment number 2 on tree preservation. You know, again, we do have the provision in our zoning ordinance that talks about, again, encouraging clustering, but we also have the tree ordinance that talks specifically about all applications for site plans and subdivisions. Number 1 priority is to design them in a way to maximize tree preservation. I don't think, I think, you know, again, the applicant's not going to finish tonight. I would suggest they, you know, dig into my comments on, under comment number 2, if they need to meet to discuss those. And, you know, Darren and I could probably provide them with some direction on how they could best meet these comments. The applicant prepared, you know, they had a tree expert prepare a report. I think to some degree that report was informative. You know, off the top of my head, I mean, I think basically the rear of the site that, you know, on the aerial looks like it's a forested area, was predominantly successional growth as opposed to old growth forest. My recollection of the findings was that a lot of the larger trees were around the perimeter of the property. There were 2 areas on the site in the interior that had some larger healthy trees. I think the applicant needs to look at modifications to I don't even know if it's going to result in any changes to the lot layout. I think it's likely they could preserve a lot more trees with modifications to the grading, the limits of disturbance, possibly some modifications to the stormwater plan in terms of, you know, the piping, if you will, going through the site to drain to the larger basin. And I think that if they did some of those modifications, more than just this 15-foot buffer around the perimeter, you know, which, by the way, was within the limit of disturbance on the plans, so I'm not even sure if they're even, you know, preserving any trees at this point. But I think they could, again, with some relatively minor modifications to the plan, preserve a lot more trees than they are right now.
If I can answer that, because, I mean, the reason, and I understand that, and if you just put, you know, drop a house onto a lot and then look at the surrounding areas, you can say, okay, we can save a lot of the trees and everything surrounding it. The issue that we have is that per what's required for stormwater management, there's a lot of things that the green infrastructure specifically created by using the BMPs that are created by, required by the green infrastructure. There's a lot of elevation drop throughout the stormwater management system. And by having that drop and having to have the basin at the front of the site, the low point of the site, it's creating a lot of fill on the site. In order to manage the stormwater from a relatively flat site that it's draining towards the south and towards the east, but it's not just a straight slope from the west to the east that would just allow us to follow the existing grade and not modify areas. There's a lot of ups and downs in the site, but we have to grade the site to convey everything from west to east. And by doing that, it's creating a lot of fill on site. And when we're filling the site, in order to manage the stormwater, we have to disturb and clear the site. And looking at the plans again, that's not gonna change. The basin still has to be at that southeast corner. We still have to grade up to the north and to the west, and it's gonna modify the existing grade, and therefore we're gonna have to clear a portion of the site. What I did present on this exhibit, and I apologize that we didn't have a PDF to make it more obvious for everyone to see, but I took the tree locations that the arborist mapped because we had to go out and locate each 16-inch tree. And I showed in red the trees that would have to be removed, and in blue the trees that would be able to be saved, which are, as Mr. Healy stated, the trees that are mainly along the perimeter of the site. And I think that we can work with the grading and with the areas that we're attempting to preserve, and we can save about 44 of those 16-inch trees that were located. And so I think that's better than what we had really knew or had previously shown on the site. And this applicant has worked with the township when we submitted plans about a year and a half ago and improved the plans based on how many trees were being removed and how many trees were being planted. And the applicants really worked with the town and the professionals to kind of bend over backwards and try to help with the tree, the tree deficit and the number of trees being removed and the number of trees being planted. And this is what we've been able to come up with. And I think it's a major improvement from what was originally designed and presented to the township. And to be honest, I don't know that we can't add any more trees. We plant any more trees and they're not going to survive. We've really maxed out how many trees can be planted on the site. And due to the grading issues of the site, there's really not much less area that can be, there's not much more area that can be saved.
It seems to me as an observation that what you're trying to create, I get, but I don't think you have the ideal site for it. I think you would be easier to incorporate some of our suggestions if the site were wider or if it were bigger. Since it's not either of those things, maybe you need to consider some other things. Like, personally, I don't think that's an attractive site plan where you have basically a straight runway from front to back. It's almost like a racetrack. There's no character for the kind of high-end housing that you say you're trying to create. I think you're just trying to do too many, like Mike says, too many bells and whistles in the project and not enough space to do it in the right way.
Again, it is the R40 zone, and that's what we are. That's what we're here for.
Technically, that's what I said. You comply, but that doesn't mean that it's nice necessarily.
And I understand that a lot of other sites may have, were more open to the cluster option, but again, there's a reason that there's different styles of residential zones throughout a township. You don't want every single-family residence to be 10,000 square feet. You don't want everyone to be 20,000 square feet. You want a variety to attract different types of people and to attract different markets. And given that many of the other sites, including the one directly across the street, did the cluster option, went with the cluster option, this is a different offering to
Different doesn't mean better, though. And I don't know that I buy that argument. Here's what I'd like you to do. I mean, yes, you can get what there's two ways to do this, right? And it doesn't, to do this in a planning way. And then one would be to cluster, the other would be to say, okay, look, maybe we can live with 12 or 13 building lots rather than 14, and that saves some trees, or that reduces the stormwater enough so that we don't have to grade. And because I understand what you're saying from an engineering perspective. Look at our perspective. Does it make sense to clear a site, you do your green engineering, and then replant the trees when they're there? And if they're successional, they will keep succeeding. I mean, that's how forests happen. Nature sorts itself out. It's been doing it for thousands of years without our help. And when we does get our help, it doesn't go in the right direction. So I would like you to meet with Mark, and I would like you to hear his ideas, and you know, just, I'm not here with a ruler or protractor or volume calculations for stormwater. That he's a professional planner. I'd like you to meet and say, okay, how can we make the buffer wider? Can we make it, if we can't make it 15 feet, can we make it, if we can't make it 50 feet, can we make it 25 feet? Is this the best plan? I'm not convinced, because I haven't seen an options analysis. You haven't presented me with anything that I can see that says other than what you want. And that's not the way things are done. You would present an options analysis and say, this is why we think it's the best option. We can agree or disagree. We can approve, disapprove. You can do what you want after that. The other thing I want you to be very clear about, all right, the sewers. You got the letter from the Sewerage Authority, so I don't need to expound. You will not get, Darren, phrase this correctly.
The final maps won't be, or final plats won't be signed until all outside agency approvals are obtained. So that's going to be a condition of approval that I recommend. If the board acts favorably.
And we would readily agree to that. We would assume the plats would not be filed and it would not be signed as a
because we don't want the site cleared if you don't have sewer capacity. My understanding was you originally got that capacity through the rest of development, which of course the Sewerage Authority granted it to Resta. They didn't grant it to Resta as a proxy for you. Then they recommended either Amwell or Treptow tie-ins. Each with their own expense, right? You'd have to run a lot of line up to Treptow. You'd have to improve the pumping station at Amwell. It's all in the Sewerage Authority letter with a condition of approval. I just want you to understand going in would be that is granted before any plats are signed and any disturbances happen, because the last thing we want is a cleared site and you can't get sewer. So,
and we would readily agree to that, absolutely.
So can you do me that favor? Can you get together with our folks? Can you give me an analysis of some sort? You're all very smart, Chris. I know you all got the experts. I'm sure they're all qualified, right? They're going to tell. Give you know what I want, right? Think of it as you go into Excel and you make a table, right? And the table option 1, 2, 3, and why it could be right. Why this is your best plan. Aside from an economic, all right? Because economics don't matter to me. That's your thing. But I want to understand why you can't make the buffer wider, or why you can't cluster, or what it would engender. And I want you to listen to Mark's ideas and not just say, we want what we want. That's not the way, to me, to approach a board.
With all due respect, I don't want the board to get the feeling that we are not cooperating or listening to or working with Mr. Healy and with the township professionals. We certainly are, and we certainly are open to that. I don't want to go into the reason why this took a year to get from application, or more than a year to get for application to in front of the board, because that does have to do, with the sewer authority and with certain discussions and urgings from the sewer authority to go one way, and then 12 months down the line being told by them that actually they would prefer us to not go that way that they suggested, and quite a bit of money and time being spent as to that. But again, this has nothing to do with this board, but I do want to express that we have been working very diligently with the township and with township agencies for the last over a year on this project. So I want the board to understand that we are not just coming in saying, look, this is, we're not agreeable, but again, within the confines of what the ordinance is, of what the law is, of what the governing body believes is the correct zoning, we feel that this meets those criteria. But we're happy to meet with the township professionals. We're happy to meet with Mark again and to go over it. One of the things that again, because we only got this survey completed approximately 2 weeks ago, we didn't have the time to be able to map all of that onto what Chris was showing as to the trees that could be saved. And so, we presented that to you tonight, but I know Mr. Healy hasn't had an opportunity to really go into that in depth. Part of the reason that I realized that we were likely not going to get to a vote, both because of the time limitations and because of, I assume that the board will want Mr. Healy to opine more as to that preservation effort. And so we're happy to work with him. We're happy to continue to work with him. If
Yeah.
at some point there is an approval, we'd be happy to continue to work with the township professionals
And
as a condition
we
as
don't
well.
need it down to the tree. I think that the gestalt I want you to take away from tonight is, I see the three options. The option you've proposed, a potential cluster option that Mark has outlined, and something in between that achieves a better development, but that's not a cluster, but that maybe preserves more and gives the spirit and the intent, if not the letter, where you may be able to accomplish a lot of the tree preservation that a cluster could otherwise do. And maybe you consider that it's not 14 homes. I mean, I have had subdivisions before me where I'm like, I mean, looks like the land dictates that maybe you should have 12 or 13. So, I mean, that might be an option as well. But I see at least those three that you can easily, I mean, obviously one you've got, the other, I'd like to just see some evidence as to what that would be, especially if it's just one variance. It just, oh, yeah, the gate's out. But I really would like to see some effort to inform the board of what the options are, and so that we can make a reasonable proposal for you, a reasonable decision for you.
Mike, I just have a quick statement and a question. Look, I can appreciate, your idea of luxury homes with all the bells and whistles. There are quite a few of them in Franklin Township. Have you taken a ride down on Princeton Highlands, Barbary Court?
I don't know
Okay.
off the top of my head.
I recommend you do that.
As an example of what to do or what not to do?
What to do.
Okay, thank you.
Barbary.
Just wanted.
Yeah,
just
Princeton
wanted to make
Highland,
it clear.
Princeton Ridings,
Princeton,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty luxury homes there with pretty acreage. Yeah, take a look.
So I think because we do have public here tonight who've already expressed that they have opinions, I would like to open to the public. We will not have a vote tonight where they're going to continue, where they're going to come back. And we're going to continue the hearing with their other experts. So you can wait, but I do want to give you the opportunity to do it now if you want. So I make a motion to open to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody wishing to speak? I mean, it might be good to do it now because they're going to go back and talk to you can get your opinions in. Sir, if you want to.
My apologies for before. I thought we were talking about this.
No, it's all good. It's all
I didn't
good.
realize that.
And if you could just give us your name and address for the record again, please?
Ernie Levis, Leves, 21 Como Drive. I'm lot 508.02, lot 24. You want me to show it after here? I have the largest lot on this side of the street. Right, so we connect right here.
You could take the microphone with you?
I spoke with my neighbors.
Sir, just make sure that you're talking into the mic if you're speaking. If you walk away, they can't get you in the mic.
Well, did you get where I
Yes.
showed you?
No, okay.
But
So I spoke with my neighbors.
it's on. The light's on.
I spoke with my neighbors, a lot of elderly neighbors. I'm there 55 years, going on 56 years in a couple of months. And the big three concerns that they have, we're on well water. And I think you're proposing to put these homes on well water, correct? No? You're going to tie in the municipal utilities
Yes,
and the sewers also?
yes.
Okay, that alleviates that. The other one was a fence. And when I read in the planning board, I guess, when I went in and looked at the plans and everything, I saw something about a white plastic fence on the common border with
Yes.
the back of our properties.
A solid PVC fence.
We would request a 5-foot-high, heavy-duty chain link fence. And there's reasons for that. A brief history of Como Drive is that they were built as summer homes back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s. After World War II, they built new homes or remodeled the existing bungalows that were there. When I bought mine, it was a 4-room summer bungalow, but I have almost 3 acres. I remodeled it, I put 2 additions on it, I put a 3rd addition on a garage. Now it looks like a custom-built ranch. But the point that I want to make here is, back in the 20s, 30s, people came out from Brooklyn to be here for the summer, just like they went up to the Catskills. So the fencing in the back, there was barbed wire when Axelrod's farm was in the back there. They put barbed wire along the back, our common border. They dumped all of their trash back there, glass, cans, because there was no garbage pickup back then. When I moved there years ago, I took out truckloads of glass, cans, and that type of thing. But there's still a lot of garbage back there. So the reason for the fencing that I'm suggesting is that the woods that we have in the back, it's going to be like a magnet for the homeowners, maybe cutting grass or pruning bushes. What am I going to do with it? Oh, there's woods over there, we'll throw it. Or the kids that eventually will be there will play back there. And I don't want to see them with the barbed wire and the cut glass and everything else back there. That's why I'm proposing a more solid fence. When that vinyl fence deteriorates, and it will, unless it's a real heavy-duty vinyl with the ribbed inside, who's going to replace the fence? Who's going to be responsible for that? Will a builder still be responsible to replace that fence?
So likely the HOA, the homeowners association, would be responsible for maintaining those common elements.
I just think it should be secure, you know, that common board.
I certainly agree, and I think a solid fence is generally considered more secure than an open chain link fence, especially a 5-foot high chain link fence that I can imagine a child jumping over that or something, or whereas I think the solid fence is likely provides more, number one, privacy, but also deterrence for somebody to
You're
go to the other side.
familiar with the one across Cedar Grove, behind Restus project?
Not off the top of my head, no, I'm not.
I was involved with negotiating 1,000 feet on our common border with the cemetery, because I run the Cedar Grove Cemetery also. And they went right for it right away. Again, we have woods on that side of the cemetery. There's 12 1/4 acres in there. And just to keep the kids out from 32 homes. So they don't get hurt and they don't do any damage. Okay, you've answered the questions that I had, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So,
board.
yeah, no problem. So I mean, aesthetically, I'm sure you probably don't like the idea of a chain link fence, but what Ernie's saying is, I think you can probably do maybe some sort of a different, because I've seen sections where like it will entirely fall down, like that section of a fence. I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So maybe you can do something with the slats interwoven or some other design that makes it more secure but still looks attractive. Because I mean, I understand the kind of look and gestalt you're going for. And so I don't think chain link is probably what you're looking for, but I think we can find something.
And my experience has been, I think most of the vinyl fences that end up looking really bad, no offense to homeowners, are probably put in by the homeowners and not by professionals or contractors that do that. But again, the HOA will be there to ensure that that fence is maintained regardless of what material it is.
Anybody else from the public? Since we were open in the public, I didn't close it yet, so. Seeing no takers, move to close.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so logistically, Christine, we need to find a new date. You need to meet, you need to revise what you need to revise is your opportunity to present us with not only the plan you will discuss with Mark, but also to clean up anything existing in your current one. So let's find it. Let's find a date. You will, if you do so the date now, you won't have to renotice because we don't make you renotice unless you're multiple meetings that were carried and then the public loses track. But we can just tell the public tonight when to come back.
So actually, I have a question. So
Yeah.
is the plan to, you had mentioned having the meeting and having plans revised. I mean, if that's the direction, then that's going to take some more time.
Well, it takes what it takes. I mean, you have to let us know. Obviously, you and Christine can control the calendar. If we can't get a date tonight, then obviously they're gonna have to renotice because then we're gonna like scratch, right?
Why don't I suggest that we had already kind of scheduled in the 21st in 2 weeks. If that meets the applicants, is that still good for you?
I think we
21st
can
of
certainly, I'll defer to Chris as to what we compare. We're happy to meet with you as soon as possible and to stay on that date. If it has to get pushed from that date, perhaps we can announce at that date so that another notice
That's
doesn't have
exactly what
to
I
be
was going to
required.
suggest, that why don't we keep the 21st, see where the discussions go. Maybe the applicant, maybe we have some epiphany together,
Yeah.
and then they revise their plans in some, meaningful way that pushes it out a little bit more, but
Yeah.
maybe it gets them to, a better place.
Well, I think
with what the
we've
board is
given them
telling
good feedback tonight, and I'll be interested to see what they do with it. So, yeah, let's keep the 21st so we can keep the chain of custody, and that way, like you say, you won't at least have to go through the expense of renoticing if on the 21st people show up and then we say, no, it's deferred to X, and then, so that keeps you from renoticing. We just have had instances where, and I'm very big on public transparency, is that we'll push it and we'll push it. We'll actually not have at least even this discussion that we're having tonight. And then the public's like, I don't even know when this was pushed to, right? And even though it's on
Understood.
the website. This way, at least we can announce it here and people are going to come because they see it's going to be on the 21st, even if it's carried.
Correct, understood, absolutely.
Okay, so Odin Dunn LLC, docket number PLN 240007, is going to be carried to January 21st at 7:30 PM at 475 Demont Lane in this room. You don't have any requirement to notice.
Sounds good?
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
I think that's all we have tonight. I just want to say one thing with the agendas in the future. So I have, for many years, had a section here called committee reports. That was intended at the time to have the board members that we have, like, for example, Ted, who's environmental, and various other people who are cross-pollinating boards to come, the chance to come before us and say what their committee's up to. We really haven't taken advantage of that, and then we also get the staff reports from the commissions that review plans anyway. So I was wondering if, and we don't have to do this, first of all, take committee reports off, because we never do them. But in instead, what might be interesting is to have like a 5 or 10 minute board discussion, because like there's planning things that come up. Sometimes, Bob, you'll mention, there's this thing, this is property that's, whatever. And we can maybe, do something, or maybe it teaches us a lesson in the future when, as we revise our master plan, there's something or some part of the development ordinance that we can go and close a loophole that's come up. So I would suggest maybe if the board, you can think about it, we don't have to decide tonight, but it would be like open board comment. Whatever planning bug is in your bonnet, right? As you drive through town, can be good to hear. It could be a traffic issue or whatever. I think that might be a useful part of that time.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I just wanted to remind the board, so I sent, well, two things. You noticed there's a report was sitting in front of you. I also, this evening, some of you may or may not have seen it, I sent you an email. So we're going to be busy, a little busy the next few months. The document that's in front of you that's the township, the planning boards are required every 10 years to comprehensively evaluate re-examine their master plan and their development regulations. We last did so in March of 2016, so we have to do so before March of 2026. This is a complete, basically first draft. Obviously, it's my draft. You obviously have to, it's going to be your document, so please review it carefully. We're going to schedule a work session for the 21st. So if we do have Odin, we'll do a work session after that. So I do ask that you review it carefully. Any comments that you agree with, don't agree with, want the report to expand upon. If there are issues in there that I didn't address, let's talk about it on the 21st. Then we're going to schedule another, after that, I'll prepare a revised draft incorporating whatever input the planning board wanted, and we'll have another So I think it's back on. With the goal of having the public, 2 work sessions, and then hopefully we'll be in a position to have a public hearing on it on February 18th. The other thing, again, just to remind the board, we do have a meeting next Wednesday. So this is for the master plan examination of the, basically what everybody calls the BI study. That was presented to you at some point last year, I think the summer of last year into the fall, along with a draft development ordinance. We went over that at 2 different meetings. I sent you the link to that document. That's going to be the subject of the hearing. And that incorporates the comments. Again, you discussed it at 2 different meetings, had a number of comments, and that draft incorporates your comments. And the public hearing is going to be next Wednesday. So.
Jen and Charles, I know you're not available to come. I don't know if you want to, can they send you comments or anything, or?
Yeah, if you can't make it, I mean, I'd prefer, obviously, that for those that are going to attend, that you bring it up for the full board discussion. But if you're not going to be there, please feel free to send them to me, and then I'll communicate them to the rest of the board.
So again, this is what I said, this is the fun part, right? The planning part that we do, which should be fun. And not everything, when we do this reexamination, and it's sort of, I don't know if I want to say it's at a high level, but I think the key thing that you think about when you curl up with a hot cocoa and read this is not to go into gory detail, but if there are things that you really think that we need to address, because there is nothing that says thou needs to wait 10 years to address your master plan element. We can do that anytime that we feel we need to revise something. So, we could prioritize the things that we identify from this master plan reexamination that we'd like to tackle over the coming months and years. So look at it that way rather than we're going to solve this with because we have to do this reexamination by March. What can we practically do between now and March? So it's more identifying and prioritizing things that we will want to do in the future. Is that a good way?
Perfect.
All right. So with that, motion to adjourn. Somebody give me a second.
Second.
All in favor? All right.